Hello everyone, I'm Professor Ken Watson. In this today's session, we are going to study the introduction of the gear trains. In most of the applications where we need the constant velocity ratios, for such applications, we use that gear trains. That means in case of lathe machine, milling machine, again in case of wristwatches, again in case of differential gearbox, for such applications we use the gear trains. That gear there is a difference between the gearbox and the gear train. In the gearboxes, suppose in case of four-wheeler or the in case of two-wheeler, we obtain that three four-speed gearbox. That means is that four speeds, five speeds, six-speed gearboxes. That means we obtain the different velocity ratios. But in case of gear trains, we obtain the constant velocity ratio. That means we can't change that gear ratio. That means to that gear ratio remains same. We may change the velocity. There is a difference between the velocity and the velocity ratio, but we obtain the single velocity ratio in the gear train. This is the difference between the gear train and the gearbox. In the gear trains, we connect number of gears in a such a way that to obtain that particular or the required velocity ratio. For that, we use the gear trains. Again, there are some purposes to increase the central distance. To achieve that central distance and the velocity ratio, we need to add the number of gears in between them, and we use the motion to them. For such a requirement, we use the gear trains. In this today's lecture, we are going to study the introduction of the gear trains, classification of the gear trains, and we'll again focus on the epicyclic gear train. Now we'll start with the introduction of the gear train. As we know, in the machines, rotary motion is transmitted from the one shaft to another shaft to solve some purpose for particular application. In these machines, we use the gears to transmit the motion from one shaft to the another revolving elements. Okay. Now, there is one term which is the gear train. That gear train is the combination of gears employed to transmit the motion from one shaft to the another shaft. Why their name is train, which is included, that I want to explain you. Now train, we know the train. In the train, that first one is the engine, which is connected by the bogie number 1, bogie number 2, bogie number 3. That means that engine which gives the motion to bogie 2, this bogie 1, that bogie, that means suppose engine is the 1, bogie 2 which gives the motion to the bogie 3, or bogie 3 gives the motion to the bogie 4. If we consider the same analogy in the gear trains you will find this is the gear train, that gear A gives the motion to gear B and gear B gives the motion to gear C. Again there is one gear that suppose there is one gear D, that C gives the motion to the gear D. In this way, that A is the, that means input is given to A. In this case input is given to this bogie because this is one engine. In this case that prime mover, it may be the IC engine or the motor which gives the motion to this gear A, which gives the motion to the gear B, and subsequently that B gives the motion to the gear C, just like this. There are several types of gear trains. One is the simple gear train, which is like this. Second one is the compound gear train. Next one is the, see, this is the compound gear train. What is the difference between simple gear train and the compound gear train? Each shaft consists of the single gear. But in this case, you will find if this idler gear, that gear B and gear C, which are mounted on the intermediate shaft, that means more than one gears are mounted on the intermediate shaft, then it becomes the compound gear. Again, that reverter gear train, which is the again modification in the compound gear train, in which that gears D and gear A, which are the coaxial. That means for the, when there is a space constraint, for such applications we need to use the reverted gear train. And next one is the epicyclic gear train. This is very important. In this case, EP, that means one gear rotates above the periphery of another gear. That's why it is called as the epicyclic gear train. Epicyclic gear train. These are the total four types of gear trains. One is the simple, compound, reverted and the epicyclic gear train. One thing which is very interesting, in all the type of gear trains, simple gear train, compound gear train and the reverted gear train, their degrees of freedom which is 1, except this epicyclic gear train which is having the 2 degrees of freedom. How it is having the 2 degrees of freedom, that we'll discuss later, but this thing that you have to remember. These are the again simple gear train, compound, reverted and the epicyclic gear train. Now we'll study the simple gear train. Now we will consider the first type of gear train, which is the simple gear train. The simple gear train is the train in which each shaft which involves in the power transmission consists of the single gear. Now these are the 4 shafts on which these 4 gears are mounted. That means each shaft consists of the single gear. This is the driving shaft and this is the driven shaft. This is the driver gear, that gear number 1 which is the driver gear, and gear number 4 which is the driven gear. Again, if we consider this animation, this type of gear train, that gear A which gives the motion to gear B and gear B gives the motion to gear C. Gear 1, 2, 3. From 1 motion is given to 2 and from 2 motion is given to 3. And these intermediate gears are called as the idler gears. Now we'll do the kinematic analysis in which motion from gear A, which is the 1, which is gives the motion to the gear 2. That means N1 upon N2 is equal to T2 upon T1. Again from 2 motion is given to 3. That means N2 upon N3 is equal to T3 upon T2. Okay. Now if we take the product of these two equations, left hand side and the right hand side, you'll find that N2 gets cancelled. That means, and this T2 gets cancelled from the right side. You'll find N1 upon N3 is equal to T3 upon T1. That means that N1 which is the driving gear, N3 is the driven gear, T3 is the number of teeth on the driven gear and T1 are the number of teeth on the driving gear. That means in this velocity ratio there is no any influence of the number of teeth on the idler gears. That means what is the use of these idler gears? These idler gears are used to connect the shaft when we require the large center distance between them. When we want the large center distance between the two shafts, we need to use the idler gears. Again, if you want to change the direction of rotation, again in this case, suppose there are the odd number of gears. Now in this case, there are the 3 gears are in mesh. Gear A rotates in the anti-clockwise direction, gear B rotates in the clockwise direction, and gear C again rotates in the anti-clockwise direction. Again, in between, if we add one gear, that means there are the 4 number of gears. In that case, that means suppose I have added that gear over here at this location. This is the anti-clockwise, clockwise, again anti-clockwise, and this rotates in the clockwise direction in this way. That means if we add the gears in between, we can change the direction of rotation of the driven gear. That means to change the direction of rotation, we need to use the idler gears. Again, if we want to add the center distance between the driving and the driven shaft, we need to use the idler gears to transmit the motion. Now we are going to study the second type of gear train, which is the compound gear train. In the compound gear train, when there are more than one gear mounted on a shaft, such type of gear pair are called as the compound gears, and gear train is called as the compound gear train. Now in this case, if we concentrate over here, that gear 1 is mounted on the that shaft A. Again gear 2 and 3, these are the 2 gears which are mounted on the one shaft, which is the shaft B. Again gear 4 and 5, which are again mounted on the shaft C. Both the gears are mounted on the shaft C, and gear 6 which is mounted on the shaft D. In this case, B and C, that gear number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 are called as the compound gears. Again, in this case, if we consider this animation here, from gear A, motion is given to gear B. Again, gear from this gear B, motion is given to its shaft, and through this shaft, motion is given to this gear C, and from C, motion is given to gear D. If you consider this, from A, motion is given to B, from B, motion is given to C, and from C, motion is given to D. But for the compound gears, because of gear B and C are mounted on the same shaft which rotates with the same speed, that's why speed of that gear B and gear C are the same. Again, gear B and gear C are mounted on the same shaft. Gear B and gear C are having the same speed and they are having the same direction of rotation. That means when gear A, which rotates in the clockwise direction, which allows to rotate its external mating part, gear B, into the anti-clockwise direction, gear B and gear C will rotate with the same speed which is in the anti-clockwise direction. Now that gear C and gear D are having the external meshing, that's why both will rotate in the opposite direction. That's why gear D is rotating in the clockwise direction. Okay, A to B, B to C, and C to D. If we find out the velocity ratio n1 upon n2, that means this is the gear 1, this is the gear 2, this is the gear 3, and this is the gear 4. n1 upon n2 is equal to t2 upon t1, which is the number of teeth of gear 2, and the number of t1 is the number of teeth on the gear 1. n2 and n3 are the compound gears, that's why they are having the same speed. Again, n3 gives the motion to n4, that's why n3 upon n4 is equal to t4 upon t3. Again, if you take the multiplication of both the sides of these two equations, that means n3 upon n4 into n1 upon n2 is equal to t2 upon t1 into t4 upon t3. Again, here if we consider this, n2 is equal to n3, that means n3 and n2 gets cancelled. That means that final equation becomes n1 upon n4 is equal to t2 upon t1 into t4 upon t3. The interesting thing is that if you compare the simple gear train, in that case there is no any influence of the intermediate gears on the intermediate shaft, which is called as the idler gear. But in case of compound gear train, that gears mounted on the idler shaft which plays the important role, which are the compound gears, and which influence the velocity ratio. Okay. The advantage of the compound gear train over the simple gear train is that large reduction in the speed can be possible in case of compound gear train. Again, that simple gear trains are used if that gear reduction which is less than the 7:1 or 1:7. If we want to exceed this, we need to use the compound gear train or the worm and worm gears. This is the application of the headstock of the lathe machine, where we use this compound gear trains in the lathe machine. Now, next type of gear train, which is the reverted gear train. The definition or the reverted gear train is the modification in the compound gear train. The velocity ratios of the simple gear, that compound gear train and the reverted gear train are same. Only one difference is that in the compound reverted gear train, that input shaft and the output shaft are the coaxial. That means this is the input gear which is mounted on this shaft, which is the input shaft, its axis, and this is the 4 is the driven shaft which is mounted on this shaft. These two are the coaxial. Such type of gear trains are called as the reverted gear train. If you want to that if you want to have very high reduction in the speed in very compact space, for such application we need to use the reverted gear train. In our wristwatches, for such type of compact applications, we need to use the reverted gear train. Again, in this case, from gear A, motion is given to B, from B, motion is given to C, and from C, motion is given to D, just like this, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. Again, in this case, 2 and 3 are the compound gears again. That means when this rotates in the clockwise, which allows to rotate the gear 2 in the anti-clockwise, gear 3, 2 and 3 are again rotates in the anti-clockwise direction, and which allows to rotate gear 4 into the clockwise direction again. Now, if you want to find out the velocity ratio, 1 n1 upon n2 is equal to t2 upon t1. Again, gear 2 and gear 3 are the compound gears, that's why n2 is equal to n3. Again, n3 upon n4, that means from 3 motion is given to the 4. n3 upon n4 is equal to t4 upon t3. If we take the product of this equation of these two equations, and if you take the product of left hand side and the right hand side, you will find that n3 upon n4 into n1 upon n2 is equal to t2 upon t1 into t3 upon t4, but n3 is equal to n2. That means n3 n2 gets cancelled. That means again n1 upon n4 is equal to t2 upon t1 into t4 upon t3, which is same as that of the compound gear train. Again, in this case also, that gears, intermediate gears, which influence the velocity ratio. Again, suppose I want to find out the center distance or the number of teeth. In this case, R1, R2, R3, R4, which are the radius of these 4 gears. R1 plus R2, just try to understand this center distance. Now in this case, gear 1 which gives the motion to gear 2. Okay, the distance between these two, which is of this R1 plus radius of this, sorry, this is the R1, radius of this plus radius of this, R1 plus R2. Again, that 3 meshes with the gear 4, that means radius of this, that means R3 plus R4. Okay, again we know that these are the these are the spur gear or the helical gear. Every gear must have the same transverse module or the normal module. That means that M is equal to d by d. If you put this, that means this equation, this becomes the d by t means the 2r upon t. That means it becomes the 2 into t1 into m, just like this. And we can find out the number of teeth on the each gear. If we know the t1, t3 or t4, using this we can find out t2, like this. Any one value that teeth on each any one gear we can find out using this equation. Okay, again there is one, that means one term which is the train value. We know the velocity ratio, which is the speed of driver upon the speed of driven shaft, which is equal to number of teeth on the driven gear to the number of teeth on the driver. Again there is one term which is the train value. Train value means the speed of the driven shaft to the speed of the driver shaft. That means speed of driven gear to the speed of the driving gear. This is called as the train value, which is the just reciprocal of the speed ratio. Now we are going to study the last type of the gear train, which is the epicyclic gear train. Epicyclic gear train, the axis of the shaft over which the gears are mounted may move relative to the fixed axis. That means, just I will like to show you one simulation, then we'll come to this simulation. You'll find that this gear, yellow gear, which rotates out the periphery of this orange gear, that means we know the epicyclic. Epi means upon and cyclic means rotation. When any gear rotates above the periphery of another gear, then such type of gear train are called as the epicyclic gear train. We find there are the some members. This blue, which is called as the ring gear, this gears, this yellow gears, which are called as the planet gears, this red gear, which is called as the sun gear. This gear train arrangement, which is also called as the sun and planet type gear train arrangement. That means sun which rotates about its own axis, these planets which are rotates about their own axis as well as rotates rotates about the axis of the sun. Okay, now when this ring is fixed, just try to understand, when that ring is fixed, we'll find this rotation as this gear rotates, which allows to rotate these gears. Actually there is some connection, and because of this we'll find the rotation of this gear train. When these planet gears are fixed, now that planet gears are fixed, that means it is just like the simple gear train. From this ring gear, motion is given to this planet gear, and through this planet gear, motion is given to this ring gear. This is just like the that simple gear train. When sun is fixed, when sun gear is fixed, if we give the motion to this ring gear, which allows to rotate these planet gears, and because of that planet gears which are mounted on one arm, or that arm which is given to, which gives the motion to the another shaft. In this way we can use the epicyclic gear train. The interesting thing of this epicyclic gear train is that this is the only gear train which is having the 2 degrees of freedom. Otherwise all the gearboxes are having the 1 degrees of gearboxes, and the gear train are having the 1 degrees of freedom, except this epicyclic gear train which consists of the 2 degrees of freedom. Okay. The application of this epicyclic gear train, which are used for the very, if you want to very high velocity ratios in very compact space or the less space, we normally use the epicyclic gear train. In our differential gearbox, the differential gearbox is the application of the epicyclic gear train. Again, in the gearbox or back gear of the lathe, again hoist, pulleys, again wristwatches, we use the epicyclic gear train. I'll just change the speed of this. You'll find the rotation of this gear change if ring is fixed, when planets are fixed, when sun gear is fixed, or for the direct coupling all the gear rotates with the same direction. When the ring is fixed, the sun gear rotates in the clockwise direction, that ring gears are rotates in the anti-clockwise direction. When planets gears are fixed, means they are fixed about their center of rotation, or their axes are fixed. Sun gear rotates in the clockwise, planet gears are rotated, sorry, sun gear rotates in the anti-clockwise, planet gears are rotated in the clockwise, which allows to rotate this ring gear in the same direction, which is the clockwise again. If sun gear is fixed, that ring gear which rotates in the anti-clockwise direction, which allows to rotate that planet gears in the anti-clockwise direction. And when direct coupling, for the direct coupling, all the gears are rotates are in the same direction. There is no any rotation of the planet gears. The same concept we used in the differential gearbox while taking the turn or while moving on the straight line path. Now we will consider the different members in the epicyclic gear train. There are the 3 main members. That means first one is the sun gear, which rotates its own axis. Second one is the planet gear, which rotates about its own axis, as well as the axis of rotation of the sun gear, which rotates about the sun gear. And there is one arm which is very important, which connects this planet gear and gives the motion to the another shaft. That means in this case there are the 2 shafts. This arm which is connected to the another shaft, and the shaft of the sun gear which is the different shaft. In this way we can transmit the motion. Sun gear which rotates over the one axis, arm rotates about the axis of the sun gear at one end, and another end of that arm which connected to the planet gear mounted on the another shaft. Planet gear rotates about the one axis as well as over the periphery of the sun gear. That action which is called as the epicyclic action. The applications of this epicyclic gear train, that I already considered: lathe machine, hoist, pulley, blocks, wheel torches. They are also used in the automatic transmission in the automobiles. There are the two transmissions which are the popular in nowadays, which are the automatic transmission and the semi-automatic transmission. In that automatic transmission, we use this epicyclic gear train. They are also used in the bicycle for controlling the power of pedaling automatically or the manually. They are also used for the powertrains between the internal combustion engine and in and the electric power well to transmit the power. In this way, we are finishing over here. What we learn in this session, we learn the gear trains, different types of gear trains, again their kinematics, and using this knowledge that students will able to select proper gear train for that particular application to design the gearbox or the gear trains in the industrial or the automobile application. With this, I will finish my lecture or this session. Thank you. Thank you for patience listening.